So, good to see you all back. So I thought this month we'd make it more like your own project. So working from your own references. I thought for the demo side of it, I would sort of focus on black and white mediums. So both drawing and painting. So I'm thinking today I'll do a little bit of landscape. So I'll just carry this one on. And I've got another one there that I started the other day. So I thought I'd use charcoal today. I might use charcoal next week as well, but depending on what everybody's doing actually. But some of the other group were having to go at portraits, so it may be a little bit portrait, but I'll see anyway. So yeah, I had a good trip over the summer. The only downside was I managed to get COVID about 3 weeks ago, so I'm still a little bit coldy, so if my voice goes, it's because of that. But generally I'm all right now. I brought some of my paintings in from Norfolk, and I've got other ones I'll bring in from other places like Ireland and Scotland over the other weeks. So I thought I'd use this image because it's one I'm going to use over the weekend. So using charcoal, I just thought it's quite nice. I like the look of charcoal, and this was one I did as a little practice one from one of Pauline's photos. But it's always a bit of a messy medium, so it's not one I tend to take outside very much because I don't want to get coloured. So I'll just go through some of the things I've found useful. To get something like a sky colour or this water, maybe I'll do a little bit on the water here. It actually helps probably having this board is a bit old and a bit rough underneath, and I'll probably benefit from a slightly smoother board underneath. But I tend to just put something down to start with. You could cover the whole paper in charcoal and just wipe everything back, but I tend to leave the lightest areas. So this actually wants to be a bit light. I find if you rub out, you can get it fairly light, but it does tend to leave a slightly grey stain. So the very lightest bits, I tend to just try and leave some white paper for those. So you could have done with being a little bit lighter here. And then once that's down, just a little bit of, either you can work it in with your fingers, or I've got this little bit of leather that came with a drawing set. And this is quite nice for just softening the charcoal out and just blending it in. So that can work quite nicely. And yeah, I'll just add a little bit more there. So that's good for getting those first layers down. And then, let's see, yeah, these trees I'll do a little bit of the trees in the distance, then I'll go on to the other demo and add these in, because I've got a couple that are part down. You've got trees in the distance. So again, it tends to go on very dark, and then I lighten it up, either using my fingers or a bit of leather. Or the other thing that's quite good are these paper blenders. When I was at college, I never used to use these. I don't know that they existed then. But I find these are quite nice for just softening out areas. And also you can direct it. And you can also pick up a little bit of the charcoal and almost like use it as a drawing tool as well. So that's quite nice for sort of drawing in details and branches and things like that. It is a difficult medium to control, and sometimes just letting it just do its own thing, you can end up with the best results. So that could be that. Maybe just light that a little bit with my finger. So that could be these in the distance. This tree in the foreground, that's a few more twigs here. And then I'm just going to make that a little bit bigger. Use that bit, it's a little bit softer. Just pick up a little bit of the texture of the paper. And then I'll add a little bit of this tree here. I think I will just stick with this one actually, just a bit in here. And yeah, for this one I'm going to work quite darkly and just really work that in. So using the charcoal on its side and just making these kind of blocky marks. So it's a nice way of just getting some big tonal areas in quite quickly. So obviously with pencils that will be taking a long time. The other thing I quite like about the charcoal is this almost like transparent, because you can see some of the light of the paper shining through. It's a little bit like a watercolour effect where you've got that transparency. So that can be quite different to pastels, so I think it's quite a nice feel sometimes. And then maybe sometimes just soften it out a little bit at the edges, or just slightly blur one or two edges. I'm not sure how much, but sometimes having all the edges sharp can freeze the image up a little bit. So sometimes it's quite nice to just soften it out a little bit here and there. You can work that down to the main trunk thing. And then the other thing is just sort of maybe lifting a little bit here and there. That's where the sun will be. Just give that feel of the, some bits just getting a little bit lighter. When it comes to rubbing out, if say I've got a really dark area here and I wanted to sort of take that back, some of it I might just lift out on my fingers or with these blenders. That's a nice way of just lightening areas. Sometimes if I just want to get rid of it completely, I usually use a bit of rag to start with, or some sort of brush, just kind of brush it out. You can use these plastic rubbers, that's reasonably effective. So I can get quite a way back to the paper that way. What else is, I found these little mechanical rubbers quite nice. These are good for little details. So if I just wanted to pick out a few little bits of light coming through here and there, that's quite nice because you can direct tiny little areas. So these are all things that I've sort of picked up over, you know, just over the years that I never used to really do as a student, really.
Paul, what is that one called? The one you've got in your hand?
This one, I don't know, just like a sort of electric rubber, really. It just battery operated, it just spins around. Okay. When we used to have an art shop up there, they used to sell these, but I think I must have got this one online somewhere. But yeah, they're quite a handy little tool. And as I say, those and the blenders, which years ago I never used to use, but I do find them quite nice. But that, to me, is starting to get a nice enough feel to it.
It's dense, isn't it?
Yeah, the other thing is I noticed on this bit of paper was just a very cheap bit of paper I found. Sometimes I'll work it in, but other times it's quite nice to pick up a little bit of texture of the paper. You know, it's got that slightly grainy look, which I don't like overall, but just a tiny bit of that can be quite nice. This paper isn't, you know, quite so textured, so I probably wouldn't get that so much. But yeah, just nice to sort of play around. If you're interested in trying the charcoal, I've got plenty here or any of these tools. If you want a bit of paper, I've got loads of this cartridge paper.
Does that work well on a canvas or not?
I don't know. I don't think many people do it on a canvas. Okay. Yeah. So what you need to do at the end is probably fix it in some way. So I've got hairspray. So you can kind of, I won't do it here because it just stink the place out. We can do it outside. That's a way of, or you can buy the proper fixed here, parties fixing. But they will, I mean, that's one of the reasons I don't tend to use charcoal much, is because you lose it. It just all gets smudged and goes everywhere. But actually, as a medium, I wouldn't mind doing a little bit more charcoal drawing, because certainly a lot quicker than painting.
So when you finish the charcoal drawing,
yeah,
and you want to keep it,
yeah,
it's still going to smudge
it's
if
going
you
to smudge.
touch it.
Yeah.
So is there any way of just
you could
keeping it?
Yeah, the best. Well, you can either.
Or is it just a spray?
Yeah, you could. Well, the options are to spray it. I mean, maybe other surfaces that might be good. I know with pastels, I sometimes use a sandy paper, and that quite holds. So then it might be worth trying that charcoal on that. You could put maybe a piece of greaseproof paper over the top, and that would probably stop it coming off. You might lose a little bit, but that might be one way. Other than that, it's just framing it under glass. You know, having it under a glass. If you if you're careful with it, put it straight in a frame when you've got it home. That's going to be your best bet, really. I tend to spray them. That's what I tend to do. Yeah. Just give them a good soaking. Spray it, maybe let it dry, and then spray it again. Let's see. guide is. Is that okay? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So yes, say I'll do some other sort of black. I might do charcoal again next week. Or I might do some of that. Depending on what.